It's time for Maggie and the Moms, where we celebrate but never sugarcoat parenting. On our panel today, Stephanie Rodriguez-Neely. She is the mother of 5, yes, you heard that right, 5 children. She also heads the Tampa Bay Moms Group. You should check it out, all kinds of good stuff. Margaret Zakarian back with us as well. She's a producer and a mother of 3. Her 2 daughters, the Zakarian sisters, are budding chefs who've written this book, which is The Family That Cooks Together. And Laura Byrne, the editor of Tampa Bay Parenting Magazine, is also the mom of 2 boys. And look for the Tampa Bay Parenting Magazine April issue, which is out right now. Thanks for coming back, ladies.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, always good. Okay, our first topic is a question that I think we've all grappled with as moms, which is, should you stop your kid from hanging out with somebody that you think is a bad influence? There's a psychologist who runs a blog called The Art and Science of Mom Blog, and she says no, you shouldn't. In fact, she suggests that instead you bite your tongue, number 1. As hard as it is, let your child figure out on his or her own that this is not a good person, because that's part of social learning, and we can only do that when we make mistakes. Focus on positive friends. She says, don't ask about the negative friends. Say, what did you enjoy about being with the good kid? And let them start to learn what it feels like to have a good and true friend, and talk about your own experiences. Those times when you were a child, when you got caught up, with a bad friend, and how you came to regret it and why. Is this how you ladies handle this situation? And what do you think, Stephanie?
It just depends on what the bad influence means. Is it a kid that isn't getting disciplined at home that maybe I can even help? I think when you foster, which is, we foster, we adopt, and it teaches you a lot about trauma, and you start to really look at the root causes of bad behavior. A lot of the time, that bully is being bullied at home. That kid that's staying out and party all night just doesn't have any supervision. So when it comes to bad influences, I really try to encourage the relationship and friendship to hang out at my house, so I can be there to watch. I can kind of see for myself, and I am absolutely the nosiest parent. I'm like, what did she say? What did she do? And my daughter knows this, so she tells me everything, and that way I can kind of guide her. If the bad influence is a child that, unfortunately, as they get older, are getting into maybe things like drugs and other illegal activities, sometimes you do have to say, no, you are not permitted to see that friend. But if it's the kid that's sassing, or maybe just has a bad attitude, or isn't respecting authority, that comes from a place that maybe them being around me and my children and seeing how we handle our emotions, maybe I can help them with that. So I really try to be understanding of where it's coming from before I even make a decision.
Yeah, that's your nature. I could see you taking that approach. What about you, Margaret?
That's a really nice approach. I agree with kind of, always everyone can come to our house, right? Like, come here. Okay, well, you want to do that? Well, let's do it here. You want to go to the mall? Great, I'll take you. So trying to monitor without having to say no, because I do think as soon as you say no, it's like they want it more.
Exactly.
Right? So the other thing that this leads to also is what about the other parents, right? You don't know. So it might be the child that you feel okay with, but you've seen some things that maybe make you feel uncomfortable or don't match your family values in their household. That gets tricky too as they start to get older. So that's definitely something to navigate. But yeah, I think, controlling without having to say no is also a tactic.
Very smart. What about you, Laura?
Yeah, definitely echo what the ladies said. And then for me, my kids are still young, being 5 and 8. However, I've tried to make an effort to become friends with their friends' parents, as you were kind of mentioning too, to get to know the families, and for the most part we haven't had any issues. But I remember being a teenager, and I remember my parents discouraging maybe some friendships, and that did make me want to be friends with that person even more. Of course, you do learn the hard way in the long run, and I think that saying is you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with most.
Yes.
Right? And letting a child eventually understand that who do you want to be as a person, and if they're not treating you properly, then it's time to move on. And as adults, I think we can learn that too.
Oh, no doubt. My Cuban mom all day long at home said, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres, which means tell me who you're with and I'll tell you who you are. So I parrot that, to teach my kids Spanish and to teach them also that lesson. But I will say that I recognize that things go in one ear and out the other, especially when kids reach a certain age when they only care about being cool. And mom and dad don't know what they're talking about.
Welcome to middle school.
Right, the middle school, high school. And so what I find, unfortunately, is that so many kids equate cool when they get to a certain age with rebellious. So they want to be with the kid who's irreverent, or they maybe become that kid a little bit because they think it's cool.
Yeah.
So what do? What we do is we avoid the temptation to say, I don't like that kid, don't hang out with that kid. What we do is bring up things that we notice. So when we start to see patterns, when our children are either misbehaving at home or at school or acting up, we're like, oh, so, who have you been hanging out with lately? Where did you learn that? And it's inevitably always the same common thread, the same kid. And hopefully in their mind, they'll start to see the connection. I don't know. There's no right or wrong way to handle it, but I think.
And like I've said this before, like every time, each kid's so unique that what works for one is not going to work for the other. So some kids you do have to be firm and say, no, you can't do that. Others you have to say, why are you doing that? So you have to craft your response and reactions to each child because they are so different.
And you can't stop. Like as a mom, we are constantly, it's never over. You have to keep hammering in the same message over and over. All right, our next topic involves the importance of making sure that your child knows that they don't have to be the best. Do you believe that? Like, are you the parent that's okay with a B and a C, or do you say, well, why didn't you get an A? Laura.
There's too much pressure to be the best nowadays, I feel like, and you absolutely don't have to be the best. I don't put that pressure on myself. Why would I do that to my child? And it's as long as they're happy, and of course, if not failing, of course, we will set the path in front of them to be successful. But I definitely don't expect them to be the best in school, at a sport, at anything, as long as they're happy and trying and putting in their best effort. That's what matters, I think, the most.
Margaret, you agree with that?
I do agree, and I think that there's this gray area of, but are you trying your hardest? So if you're putting in the time and effort, it's not about what the end result or how you're labeled or what you got, but it's a slippery slope with a lot of distractions. TV, Nintendo, phone. So if you got a C and you spent many, many hours this week not studying, then I try to focus on the message, okay, how are you spending your time? Yep. But de-emphasizing what the label is at the end of the day, and on the same side as on the other side with the praise. So it's not about great job on that A, it's great effort. I really noticed how every day you spent a little time studying.
Yes.
So emphasizing the progress and the effort versus the label.
We're all on the same page so far. Stephanie?
Well, I'll use my daughter again because she's a gymnast and that's a perfectionist sport. You want a perfect 10. You can't have any errors. Your toes have to be pointed. Everything has to be perfect. Or not only will you get a bad score, you could really get hurt. And she came off of a meet where she just dominated, going into her state meet where there was some errors and she didn't, get where she thought she wanted to be. But you've got 30 girls all competing to be perfect, and nobody there got that perfect 10. And it's very hard to explain, like you were saying, we never say, get a good score. We say, have fun and try your best. And if her best is a solid 9, I'm happy. If her best is a C, I'm happy. No one knows kids better than their parents. You know what your child's best is. We have to be so realistic in our expectations. And like you said, I love when you said, I don't praise the grade, I praise the effort. That's so important because, my son might be giving his best effort, but hey, he just can't get to where he needs to be. But I see him trying, and that's worth more praise than the kid who's getting an A without even studying.
Exactly. One of the best things I ever heard was know the child that you have. Right? Don't think about the child that you wish your child was, or don't compare to a sibling. Judge your child based on on who he or she is and their strengths and their abilities. And I think if you do that and you don't compare, you don't have unrealistic expectations, then you will be doing it right.
Which is a really good point, I think, for busy moms, because it's also taking the time and the effort to find something that your child feels like they can excel at. Rather than one sibling, just because they are good at school or doing really good at school, because everyone has to go to school. It's like taking that time back to say, okay, what are your talents? What do you love? So you can feel proud also.
I agree. All right, it's time for the wheel. Let's get to our first spin and our first topic. And let's see what we land on today. Mom hacks. Why does it always land on mom hacks? Well, we love it because, people love getting this information. What's your mom hack today?
I live by the glue gun. I live and die by the glue gun. It's great for everything. You can fix things, but my favorite is bath toys. They get mold, pool toys, they get mold, they get gunk inside. Take your glue gun and just fill that hole and water won't get in them and they'll last forever. Because the bacteria, I can't even think about it, but
wow.
Yeah. And then the bath toys that you sit on the edge, if they fall in the tub all the time and your kid's reaching for them, it becomes a hazard. Just glue gun, some swirls on the bottom, and it helps with traction so they don't fall in. Glue gun. Glue guns are great for everything.
That's
I love that.
Bath
I'm
toys,
definitely
that
going to
is
do that because I've been
great.
cleaning them out with bleach all this time.
Exactly.
Plug that hole,
So
you're good to go.
That's great. I mean, why is that hole even there?
I know. Why is it there?
So that they can
more.
squirt
Yes.
the water from the bottom of the
they
duct.
don't
That's
need
why
to
that hole
fill
is
it up.
there.
Worse.
What's your
agree
hack,
with you.
Margaret?
Actually, we were just sort of chatting about the world opening up a little bit more and taking road trips or traveling and starting to think about traveling a little bit. So I make an effort to pack everyone a little overnight bag for their toothbrush, their toothpaste, a brush, so it's ready to go. And you're not pulling from their regular, bathroom or their things. So when you come back, it's one less thing to unpack, and it just stays ready to go, and it's easy to pull.
Like
and
a
put in
little
the car.
go bag. That's so
Yes.
cute.
Yes.
Actually, that's very similar to what mine is too. It's kind of like a go bag, like bug out bag from a temper tantrum, but you keep it in your car all the time. And it's basically in case your child wants to go to the splash pad that day, or it's a last minute impromptu trip to the beach. And basically it's in a small bag. You've got a towel, you've got their bathing suit, you've got their swim diaper if needed, a little bar of soap to wash off if you need to, and the baby powder, which is sunscreen. Well, sunscreen I keep in the purse because I'm not sure how the hot sun in a car will impact this efficacy, but yeah, definitely keep that. But the baby powder is great for sand. All those things in a bag, you keep it in your car at all times. So that way, if you're at the park and your child decides, I want to play in the splash pad, you're like, sure, now you can do it.
Now
You don't
you
have to say
have
no.
to do it. See, for me, it's bad because I'm like, oh, sorry guys, we don't have a towel or sunscreen.
Yes, you purposely don't have it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
True. Maybe keep it in the trunk and just keep it
Hide it,
hidden.
a
You can
secret
kind of
go
decide.
bag.
Those are all great tips for kids. Mine is more of a mom lifesaver in the kitchen, and I can't take credit for it. I learned it from a chef I cooked with recently. She told me that, when you have a lime or a lemon and it's really hard and you slice it and you try to squeeze juice out of it and nothing comes out, here's the remedy. Tried it last night. It works. You take it, you roll it,
yes, you massage it
squeeze
first.
and it gets nice and soft, and then you squeeze all the juice. It comes right out. So there you go,
And then do it
ladies.
upside down so it catches the seeds, so you're not dropping all your seeds into your.
You're even elevating
Haven't
the
even thought
hack.
about that one either. That's good.
See that? That's what we do. All right. Thank you, guys. Good to have you.
Nice to be here.
And please send ideas for Maggie and the Moms on Instagram. I'm Maggie Rodriguez TV. And you can also just check out our website, which is daytimeonline.tv. I'm a little off today. It happens. I'm a busy mom. We'll be right back.